inside. And it started, about a year ago. I started my personal relationship with Jesus, our God, about a year ago when I got locked up. I got busted on May 10th, 2010 for evading an assault on a police officer. The DA was offering me 4 years and a strike, the first deal when I went to court. Of course, I refused the deal and said not guilty. While I was in there, I started going to Bible studies at church. The chaplain would give us books to read. One of the books that really helped me from hard time unit was called The Purpose-Driven Life by Rick Warren. In that book, it mentioned that if I were to hand you an invention you had never seen before, the invention itself would not be able to tell you what it was meant for unless you were told by who created it or had an owner's manual to let you know its purpose. And the same goes for us, because we are God's invention, and He created us to find out what our purpose is. We have to go to God. He has given us an owner's manual, which is the Bible. Since He created us, that's the only way we can find out what we are meant for. Reading that really helped me out. After that moment, I was no longer worried or depressed because I knew I had a God that was with me and had created me for a purpose. A few months passed by. The next time I went to court, they were offering me 2 years with no strike, but I still refused that deal. After 4 months of going back and forth to court, I knew my parents and also the Sower Ministry were praying for me. The last time I went to court, I made a counteroffer with the DA and said I would plead guilty to evading if they would give me a year with halftime. My public defender came back and said the DA is willing to drop both evading and assault on a police officer if I pled guilty to resisting arrest, and they would give me a year with halftime, which came out to 6 months. Since I had 4 months already, that meant I would only need 2 more months, so I went ahead and signed that deal. And just to try to rewind a little bit, my life before I had gotten busted, I used to be a functioning drug addict. I used to, I didn't think I had a problem, but I used to use meth and stuff, and do a lot of different things with friends and stuff, and was living life in the world. I was always living life very chaotically, just trying to help friends out, trying to do things for other people, and really not focusing on God, And honestly, for me, I had been using drugs maybe for about 14 years, and I know God had a purpose for me, because once I got locked up, that was the time for Him to actually let me be sober for the amount of time that He needed to work with me. And since then, I just let the Lord be, because I've always been brought up Catholic and stuff, and I knew about God. God had always been with me, but I never really had that personal relationship with Him that I have now. And I've been able to experience that once I took time in my sober mind to be able to focus by reading the Word and allowing God to transform me. It's just amazing from how my life was before and how it is now. Since I know the Lord was with me when I was locked up, and He had mercy on me and allowed me to get only 6 months instead of doing 4 years and stuff. It's amazing, what prayer can do, and not only that, but once you allow yourself to really start to follow the Lord, it's amazing how your life will get transformed. You begin to, now my life walking with the Lord is a lot more manageable. Before, I used to be always stressing. I used to always be worried about so many different things about what I had to do, and I was always isolated from family. I was never around my family. I was always with friends, trying to impress them, trying to go get this, go get that, and never making time for my family. And now that I'm sober, I appreciate being home, doing homework with my nieces, and being around, instead of being out there just wasting time, And it's amazing how the Lord works, because the blessings He has, you know. And I remember one thing when I was locked up, I used to have different, when I would go to church and stuff, there used to be different types of denominations that would come and share the word. And for me, it was like, you know, if they're going to talk about Jesus, hey, I'm there to receive it, whether they're Jehovah's Witnesses or whoever was there, you know. And for me, as long as they had the message, I was there to receive it. The only thing I didn't like was when they would talk smack on my mom, or Virgin Mary, you know, because if they were so Christian-like, how are they able to, criticize or place judgment on any other denomination? Because if you're there to share the word, you're there to share the word, not there to try to discriminate or try to put down any other religion, you know. And one thing was for me was, I remember having a couple encounters where, like, when they would mention something about that I knew that wasn't right and stuff, about like Virgin Mary and stuff, I would bring it up to their attention. And I remember their whole time talking to me, it would be trying to convince me that their way was the way, you know what I mean? And I was like, and I remember I used to have a friend of mine telling me, like, you know, why don't you stop picking on them, you know what I mean? And it was just because, you know, like for me, like, hey man, if they're so Christian, like, you know, they have no reason to talk on nobody else, you know? For me, it's like, if you got, you know, Jesus to share, I'm there, you know? But one thing about me, not, knowing much of my faith, I was only able to share so much, you know? But it's one thing that I told God, you know, while I was locked up, you know, if you let me out, I was more concerned about trying to be an example for my nephews and nieces, you know, because for me, I knew I had found the Lord while I was locked up. That was great, you know what I mean? Because, you know, it would be an and stuff, but my main concern was my nephews and nieces, because I have nephews from the ages of 21 to infants, you know? And for me was like, you know, I need to come out and share with them and at least try to be an example for them to let them know that there is a God. And because right now the way the world is so chaotic, it's just so destructive, where, I mean, it's so easy to fall into frenzy. I mean, like, just the way the world is, you know? And like, for me, I mean, the way I was living before, I wasn't a good example. And now that I came out, you know, and God gave me the glory to be able to be here with you guys and stuff. I mean, one thing that I made sure was that I was gonna get into learning more about my faith, you know. And since I've been out since November, I've been going to Grupo de Cristo Joven, where I live in Chino and stuff, on Mondays and stuff. And then I also go with my parents on Tuesday, called Grupo de Oración. And I mean, for me, it's like just allowing God to work in me and just taking the information that I've been learning. It's just so awesome, you know, because now I'm able to share with friends nice knowledge, like, you know. And one thing that really impresses me and what I'm able to share with people is that, you know, that the reason, like, one thing that I'm able to share with people is that if they know why majority of Mexicans are Catholic, and I share to them is that because when, back in the day, when the Indians used to have different types of gods, they had God of the sun, God of the moon, God of the stars. Well, when the Virgin Mary appeared to Juan Diego, which was Indian, she had the stars, I mean, the sun behind her, the moon underneath her feet, and the stars on her mantle, you know. And she was, when she appeared to Juan Diego, which was Indian, she was letting them know that she was above all their gods. Even though she was above all their gods, she had her hands together, letting it be known that through her son Jesus Christ was the salvation. And through that, you know, like, you know, people, I mean, friends, they have controversies, try to tell me different things, and like, one thing that I'm able to share with them is about the tilma, you know, the tilma that's an actual artifact that exists, that they can actually go back and do research and check it out, because NASA did a study on it, you know. And it's just amazing that this artifact that exists, I mean, how NASA can't even explain some of the stuff that it has, you know, like, for example, on the retina of the Virgin Mary, if you look at it in a digital microscope, you can actually see the images of who was present when she appeared. And not only that, if you actually get a stethoscope and put it on her stomach, you can hear a heartbeat of a baby of 115 beats per minute. And also, the tilma always stays at 98.6 degrees temperature, no matter what temperature it is, where it's at, you know. And I mean, just learning that information and being able to absorb it and take it in and share with others is just, you know, amazing, you know, because now I'm growing in my faith, growing with the faith that my parents have brought me up with and taught me. And one thing was for me, you know, why am I going to go to any other denomination first to try to learn without knowing what I've been brought up with, which is the Catholic faith, and that's what I'm doing right now, trying to learn and get as much knowledge as I can to be able to share with my brothers and sisters, because I want to see all you guys in heaven if we make it, because, with the Lord, it's possible, and, another thing is that a saint, the definition of a saint is anybody that's in heaven. So all of us have the capability of being a saint, as long as we allow Lord Jesus Christ to enter our hearts and be part of us, so we can have salvation.